See the syllabus. So first two units are about mycology, that means study of fungi. The next three units are all about the viruses. Okay. So in the first unit we have basics in mycology. What are the basics that we need to study in fungi? So those basics has been included in the first unit. So here we have introduction to mycology, then morphological classification of mycology, then concepts about superficial deep mycosis, classification and general characteristics of various medically important fungi. So these points we are going to cover in the unit 1. So this we already discussed. By the way, is everyone seeing the PowerPoint? Is it visible to the students? Am I audible and is it visible?
Sure.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes.
sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so start writing notes. Okay. Um, mm. So this one I'm just skipping it. As you know that fungi will decompose and they are the scavengers. They will remove the dead bodies from the planet Earth. So that is why they are called saprophytes, or the organisms that will feed on dead bodies are called saprophytic organisms. And our fungi is a saprophytic organism. Okay. Then so these are few general points like fungi is study of fungi is called mycology. Mycos means mushroom. So they can present in water, soil, decaying debris. They're either facultative aerobes or obligate aerobes. They will get their nutrients by chemicals. That is why they are called chemotropic organisms. Their cell wall will contain chitin, mannan, polysaccharides, and sterols. They can reproduce either by sexually or asexually. Okay, and there's a few points about this fungi. Then we discussed about the classification of fungi. So in the classification, we have yeast-like fungi, molds, and dimorphic fungi. Yeast means it is a single cell fungi, is called yeast. Then to this single cell, if you see a pseudo branch, a branch-like structure means, then they are called yeast-like fungi. So in this yeast-like fungi, you will see pseudo hyphae. Whereas molds means these are the strands. They are called molds, and dimorphic fungi means it will show two different morphologies, both mycelial form and the yeast form at different temperatures. They are called the dimorphic fungi. Now, just tell me, students, a group of yeast cells will make what? A group of yeast cells will make what does a group of yeast cells will make? A strand of yeast cells. Hyphae.
Hyphae.
Very good. Hyphae.
Hyphae.
How many types of hyphae we have?
Two.
Septate or aseptate.
Very good.
Types.
Septate and aseptate hyphae. Then a group of hyphae will make a group of
Mycelium.
mycelium. Very good. Then a group of mycelium will make a compact structure called
Molds.
molds. Is there any other name for mold?
Conidia.
Conidia. Very good. So that's it. Now, can you tell me the examples of this one? By the way, taxonomically, these fungi are divided into 4 types: zygomycetes, ascomycetes, basidiomycetes, and imperfect fungi. Zygomycetes means they resemble like zygotes. Ascomycetes will contain a bag-like structure, whereas basidiomycetes will have umbrella-like structure, which is called basidium. And imperfect fungi mean they don't have any morphology. Then you already know these terms. Then we discussed about yeast. Can anyone say the example for yeast cells? Example for yeast. Yeah. Example for yeast. Forgot. So
Sir, Cryptococcus normal.
very good.
Neoform.
Cryptococcus neoforms. So what is
Yes, sir.
this? What infection will caused by this Cryptococcus neoforms? What
Brain
it will
infection, sir.
Yes, it will cause brain infection, one of the deadliest brain infection, which is mediated by fungi actually. Okay, yeast. So this is yeast. Then what is the example for yeast-like fungi?
Candida.
Candida infection. Very good.
Yes, you
Candida will have
Candida albicans.
Candida albicans. Very good. It will cause vaginal infection and it will contain this pseudo hyphae. This pseudo hyphae can be detected by germ tube test or Reynolds broad phenomenon. That we'll discuss when we're studying Candida. Then we have this molds. So in this molds, we have mycelium. Mycelium, we have two types of mycelium: aerial mycelium and vegetative mycelium. What is the location of aerial mycelium, students? Above the medium or below the medium? Location of aerial mycelium.
Above.
Above the medium. Then vegetative mycelium means it will grow below the medium. That is the
Medium.
yeah. That's it. Few examples of mycelium containing fungi, including dermatophytes, Aspergillus. Aspergillus is the best example. Aspergillus, Penicillium, and Rhizopus are few examples for molds. Then last and finally is our dimorphic fungi. Just tell me one thing, students. At what temperature we will see yeast cells in dimorphic fungi? What is the
Let's say-
To
temperature?
37.
20
Huh?
to 25 degrees, sir.
37.
37. At body temperature, you will see yeast cells. Whereas below body temperature, lower than body temperature means around 25 to 30, you will see the mycelial
Mold
form.
form.
Okay, mold form. Very good. Mold form. So that those fungi are called dimorphic fungi. So I think someone confused. See, dimorphic fungi means that body temperature they will present in the yeast form, and at room temperature they will present in the form of mold form. Okay, that is the major characteristic feature for this dimorphic fungi. Can anyone give any examples of dimorphic fungi? Examples of dimorphic.
Histoplasma.
Very good. Histoplasma capsulatum. Histoplasma capsulatum is one of the best example for dimorphic fungi. Very good. Other than this, we have coccidoides, mycosis, then we have brasiliensis. So we have many actually. Okay, coccidoides, imitis, paracoccidoides, brasiliensis, porothrix kenki. So these are few examples for dimorphic fungi. Then reproduction and sporulation in fungi. So in today's lecture, we will discuss in detail about how fungi will reproduce. What are the types of spores that are produced by the fungi? So this will be our central topic today. So today we will discuss about reproduction and sporulation of fungi. So first one is reproduction. So fungi will do both sexual reproduction and asexual reproduction. Okay. So in the sexual reproduction, so first let us discuss about sexual reproduction. Okay. So sexual reproduction happens via meiosis, whereas asexual reproduction happens by mitosis. That you already know. Mitosis is for asexual production. See, asexual spores are produced by mitosis, whereas sexual spores are produced by the meiosis. Now, just to remember, students, when I say spores, these are equivalent to seeds. It is because of these spores only we will get this fungal infection. In this picture, you can see clearly that these mushrooms releasing some powder-like granules into the air. Actually, they are not granules, they are the spores. And one interesting feature for spores is, yes, sir. Here it is, sir. Okay. So spore, students, spores means they are like a seeds of fungi. Fungal seeds can be stated as spores. Okay. Now, these spores have the ability to float in the air. So we have seen some spores which are up to the stratosphere. That means they have went up to almost 2 to 3 kilometers height in the clouds. So these spores are highly, they can easily float. They can easily drag from one area to other area. They can even cross continents, these spores. So very aerosol in nature. So we need to be very cautious with these spores. Only because of these spores, we will get this fungal infection. Okay. Now, these spores will be produced by two methods. One is by sexual reproduction. We will get some spores. We will also get spores by asexual reproduction, vegetative reproduction. Okay. So these asexual spores are produced by mitosis, whereas sexual spores are produced by meiotic division, meiotic cell division. So first, let us see the sexual spores. What are the sexual spores that are produced by the fungi? So let us focus on sexual spores. Now, these sexual spores are of four types. Thankfully, the spores has been named depending upon the taxonomical classification. So there are four types of spores. One is oospores. Oospores means this spore resembles like a oocyte, our female's ovum. So these spores resemble like a ovum. That is why those spores are called oospores. And also remember, in all sexual spores, there will be involvement of positive and negative strand. Or simply, there will be involvement of male and female. This male and female will contact each other to form a new spore. there will be involvement of two types of hyphae. Okay, a male hyphae and female hyphae. Both these hyphae will join together and they will form a spore. Such spores are called sexual spores. So in sexual spores, we will see two types of hyphae, merging of two types of hyphae. So first one is oospore. So in the oospores, these oospores resemble like a oocytes. That is why they are called oospores. Then second one is zygospores. What is this zygospore? Zygospore means they will form a zygote-like structure. After fertilization, after the sperm entering into the ovum, we will see a zygote formation. Similar zygote-like structure will be seen in this spores. That is why they are called zygospores. So how this zygospore is formed means we will have two hyphae, and these two hyphae will develop a side branches. From these side branches, they will meet together and they will make a spore. They will make a zygospore. So this is how a zygospore looks like. Then third type is basidiospores. Basidiospores means these spores are present inside a umbrella-like structure or a basidium. That means a bowl-like structure. Since spores present inside a bowl, such spores are called basidiospores. Okay, basidiospores. So in basidiospores, you will see both male and female in different locations on the same hyphae. So on the same hyphae, you will see a female and male branches. From this male and female, you will get the one minute, sir. Sorry, students. Sir, idigondi. Okay. Where are we? Sorry for the disturbance. Basidiospores. So in the basidiospores, we have male and female. Okay. Since these spores present inside a bowl-like structure, that is why they are called basidiospores. Then last and final is ascospores. Ascospores means from a single hyphae, two branches will arise and they will prepare a bag-like structure, a sac-like structure. Within this sac-like structure, you will see the spores. Such spores are called ascospores. Ascomycota. In the taxonomical classification, we saw ascomycota. Ascomycota means it will contain a bag-like structure, right? So here also, these spores will present in a bag-like structure. Then these spores are called ascospores. So these are the four types of sexual spores we have in the fungi. We have oospores, zygospores, basidiospores, and ascospores. Okay, ascospores. Then the next classification will be vegetative spores. What are the types of vegetative spores we have? So before going to vegetative spores, let us do a quick revision on this sexual spores. So the four types of sexual spores are oospores, zygospores, basidiospores, and ascospores. And obviously, you need to give explanation to a brief explanation about oospore, a brief explanation about zygospore, a brief explanation about basidio and ascospores. So let us see. I think I have skipped that part of the slide, but I hope, is it clear for everyone, students? Are you clear with sexual spores? Any confusions in sexual spores?
No, sir.
No, right? So just you need to, these diagrams are very important, students. You must draw diagrams whenever you are writing mycology and virology, especially. So you must draw the diagram of oospore, zygospore, basidospore, and ascospore. Okay. So if you're drawing the diagram means you need not to mention anything. You need not to explain it. The picture itself will speak about what you have expressing. So just pictures are enough for sexual spores. Then second one is asexual spores. So asexual spores are produced by mitotic division. By mitosis, we will get the asexual spores. Asexual spores are also called as, okay, these asexual spores are of two types, students. Okay. Now, there are some spores which will present below the medium. There are spores that will present below the medium. Such spores are called vegetative spores. That means these spores cannot travel in the air. These spores always present in the soil or in the medium. Such spores are called vegetative spores. Then second one is aerial spores. Aerial spores means these spores will present in the air. They will go in the air. They will float in the air. Such spores are called aerial spores. So These asexual spores are broadly divided into two types: vegetative spores and aerial spores. The location of vegetative spores will be below the medium, whereas location of aerial spores will be above the medium in the air. Now let us see the types of vegetative spores. We have three types of vegetative spores actually. Okay, so those three types are blastospores, arthrospores, and chlamydiospores. Don't worry, I will explain everything. So blastospores means they are like a small peanut-shaped spores. Okay, you will see they will have a very rigid, very strong outer shell. So such spores are called blastospores. Okay, blastospores will have a very strong outer shell. So these are the blastospores. Then second one is arthrospores. Arthrospores means first hyphae septa. So from each septum of hyphae, a small double layer pouch will be uh, will be broken from the hyphae, and this in this pouch you will see a spore. Such pockets are called arthrospores. Individual hyphal pockets containing spores are called arthrospores. They are the arthrospores. And last and final is chlamydiospores. Chlamydiospores. Why they are called chlamydiospores? Because there is one particular plant called aspergus plant. In this aspergus plant, if you see the roots of this plant, the roots will get tumors. There will be small tumors to this plant. Okay? That means the root will have here and there root will have nodules, tumor-like nodules. Those nodules are called as chlamydiospores. Okay, chlamydia. Actually, since these spores resembles like that plant chlamydiospores, that is why we have given this particular name, which is called chlamydiospores. So in the chlamydiospores, what happens is in the same hyphae, a very strong rigid cell wall will be developed. Within this cell wall, you will see a spore, but this cell won't get detached from the hyphae. This spore won't get removed from the hyphae. It will remain stick to the hyphae. That is the major difference between arthrospores and chlamydiospores. And another difference is arthrospores are rectangular in shape, whereas chlamydiospores are circular in shape. And blastospores will have a tear-like shape, a teardrop-like shape. So these are the three types of vegetative spores we have in the asexual classification of spores. Asexual spores we have two types: vegetative spores and aerial spores. Vegetative spores we have three types: blastospores, arthrospores, and chlamydiospores. By the way, students, you must
Excuse me,
give
sir.
examples for you must give example for blastospore, arthro, and chlamydiospore. Yes, Deepak.
Sir, what about zoospores and alpanospores, sir?
Juice, actually, they are industrial fungi. So we are not focusing on industrial fungi or the fungus infections that will cause to animals. The fungus that will cause infection to animals
Sir,
are called zoospores.
fission and budding is also present in fungi, na?
Fission and budding also present in fungi. In what type of fungus we will see budding? Can you tell me? We already discussed about it.
Sir, actually, I have read all this in NCRT of class 11.
Yes,
It's
then the
mentioned
same
there,
thing.
yes, sir. Three types: asexual, vegetative, and sexual.
Yes.
Sexual, you tell that is all right, but the asexual one, in asexual one, zoospores and alpanospore is mentioned there. Zoospores is the motile one, and alpanospores is the non-motile one.
Yes,
And
Deepak, actually they are not pathogenic fungi. They won't cause infection to humans, and we are not focusing on all types of fungi as I'm discussing in the beginning onwards. Okay, I don't think that they will cause infection in the humans, but there is a class, there is a fungus that will cause both in animals and in the humans. That has been separately divided that we will see in the superficial infections. So in the next lecture, you will see that one. Okay. So as of now, you don't confuse with this with that. Okay. I will come to that point later. Later part of this lecture, I will discuss about what you are discussing. Okay. So as of now, just remember in the vegetative spores, we have three types: blastospores, arthrospores, and chlamydiospores. Then aerial spores, we have these four. Very important. Both these vegetative and aerial spores are very important because when we are staining the fungal sample, all we will see is these spores. By identifying these spores, we can able to guess what type of fungal infection does the patient have. So for that purpose, the morphology and identifying these spores is very important. Okay, so the second type of spores are aerial spores. As the name suggests, these spores will present above the medium. So consider this as a hyphae. From hyphae, these spores will arise on the above the medium. Okay, and you will see these aerial spores. So the first one is conidiospores. Okay, conidiospores means conidia. Conidia means head, or they're also called hair-like structures. Okay, so conidiospores means they will resemble like a head. So that is why they are called conidiospores. And these conidiospores are connected to a strand. Okay, this strand is called conidiophore. Now, in the top of this strand, you will see a bulged portion. To this bulged portion, you will see a small branches like stick-like things. They are called sterigmata. These sticks are called sterigmata. To this sterigmata, you will see the conidiophores. So this is one type of aerial spore. So this spore is called conidiospores. Then second one is sporangiospores. Sporangiospores means these spores will be present within a ball like a sponge like a round sponge like ball. Within this ball, you will see these spores. Such architecture is called sporangiospores. Such how can I say architecture means such configuration of morphology is called sporangiospores. So in sporangiospores, the spores will present within a ball-like structure. So these are called the sporangiospores. Then we have two other spores called microconidiae and macroconidiae. Microconidiae means these spores are present to a very small head-like structure. Hence, they are called as microconidiae. So we have microconidiae and we also have macroconidiae. Macroconidiae means they have large spores to a large head. So they are called macroconidiae. So these are the four types of aerial spores we have. So four types of aerial spores are conidiospores, sporangiospores, macroconidia and microconidia, whereas vegetative spores are blastospores, arthrospores, and chlamydiospores. So let us see individual characteristic features of these spores. So the first one is blastospores. So blastospores, they are formed by budding from parent cell as in the yeast, whereas arthrospores, they are formed by production of cross septa in the hyphae, resulting in rectangular thick-walled spores. Then we have chlamydia spores. They are thick-walled resting spores developed by rounding up and thickening a hyphal segment. So chlamydia spores will have round-walled or round thick wall, whereas arthrospores will have rectangular thick wall, whereas blastospores will have tear-shaped outer wall. So these are the three features of vegetative spores. And other one is aerial spores. So aerial spores, first we have conidiospores. So spores born externally on the sides of tips of hyphae are called conidiospores, or simply they are called conidia. Then microconidia. So we have micro and macroconidia. So in the microconidia, when conidia is small and single, then these are called microconidia. When this conidia is large and multicellular, then it is called macroconidia. And last and final will be sporangiospores. Sporangiospores, these are the spores present within a ball-like structure called sporangiospores. Okay, so these are the types of aerial spores we have. A quick revision of today's lecture. So in today's lecture, we discussed about the reproduction in fungi. Okay, in the reproduction, we have two types of reproduction: sexual reproduction and asexual reproduction. So sexual reproduction results in formation of sexual spores. We have sexual spores are formed by meiosis. So it is due to fusion of cells. So in the meiosis, what will happen? Two cells will fuse together to form a new baby cell. So that is called meiosis. So in the meiosis, you will see fusion of cells resulting in formation of sexual spores. We have four types of sexual spores. We have oospores, zygospores, basidiospores, and ascospores. Then we have asexual reproduction. Asexual spores are produced by mitosis. Okay, there are these asexual spores are of two types. We have vegetative spores and aerial spores. Vegetative spores we have three types: blastospores, arthrospores, and chlamydiospores. Whereas aerial spores we have four types: conidiospores, sporangiospores, microconidia, and macroconidia. So this is all about the reproduction and spore relation in the fungi. So I know this is first time you are going with these new terms. So kindly do a short revision. If you study once means you will remember it. So kindly start writing notes and go through the notes once. Then you can memorize very easily. Actually, mycology and virology is very easy if you are going through the topic. This is not as hard as your biochemistry or any others. Okay, very easy to understand. The only thing is you will encounter new words. That's it. So is everything clear so far, students, about reproduction and sporulation? Any confusions in this topic? Can I ask? Good questions. Okay, I will give you a short homework, students. My homework is you need to give examples of all these spores. I need one fungal example from blastospore. In what fungus we will see blastospores? In what fungus we will see arthrospores? In what fungus we will see chlamydiospores? Similarly, I need examples for all these spores. It will be a good exercise for you. Okay, I need only medically important fungal infections, not industrial fungi. Keep in mind. So try to Google some examples for these spores, medically important fungal spores. Okay. Usually these arthrospores. So ascospore we saw here, right? These ascospores. These ascospores we will see in dandruff actually. So in hair infection we will see ascospores. So in the hair infection, I don't know whether you know this or not. In the hair you will see some white nodules in the women or in the males who has dandruff. You will see white nodules in the hair. Do you remember, students? White nodules in the hair.
Yes.
You will remove it. You know, the monkeys will eat it or something like that. Okay. That is actually spores. That is ascospores.
Yes, sir. Yes.
That is ascospore. That is a fungus actually. People will think that is a parasite or some microbe. Actually, it is a fungi. It is the ascospore that is present on the staff of the hair. That white pin-like structure. Okay, that is ascospore. So similarly, we have multiple fungal in examples for all these spores. So that you need to exercise. Okay. So then my next lecture will be, shall I move forward, students? Can I move forward to next topic? Is this concept clear for everyone? Any confusions in this topic? Okay, tell me the types of sexual spores, students. What are the types of sexual spores we have? Types of sexual spores.
Ascospore,
Oospore.
basidospore.
Very good. Ascospores,
Sir, four.
basidospores. Yes, 4. What is the fourth one?
The zygospore.
Zygospore. Okay. Oospore, zygospore, ascospore, and basidospores.
Basidospore.
These are the sexual spores. And what are the by what division we will get the sexual spores? By what cell division? Is it mitosis or meiosis?
Meiosis.
Meiosis. Very good. Is it fusion of cells or fission of cells? Fission means breaking down. Fusion means
Fusion, sir.
fusion.
Sexual
Okay.
fusion.
Sexual. In sexual, you will see fusion. Very good. Then what are the types of asexual spores we will see? Types of asexual spores?
Vegetative.
Vegetative
Two.
spores.
Two types of
Vegetative spores or aerial spores?
Sir, you are muted, sir.
What is the location of aerial spores? In the air or in the medium?
In the air.
Sir, in the air.
Very good. What are the types of aerial spores we have? Types of
So
aerial spores?
three types.
Four.
Four
Four.
types.
Tell me the four types.
So Conoidea spores,
Conidiospores,
Microconidia, and
microconidia,
Microconidia, and Sporangio.
very good. Macroconidia and sporangiospores. Very good. Very good, Faisal. Very good. Then types of vegetative spores.
So three.
Yes. What are those?
Sir, blastospores
Blastopores,
and
Blastospores,
arthrospores
arthrospores,
and
and
chlamydospores.
chlamydospores. Chlamydospores. Then
Yes.
what spores will have rectangle structure?
Arthrospores,
Arthros.
Sir,
Arthrospores. Very good. Hmm. Then what spores will present within a ball-like structure?
Sir,
Blasters.
chlamydios.
Nice.
Blast.
No, sir.
What
Blasters.
spores will present within a ball-like structure? Group of spores will present in a ball-like
Chlamydiospore.
structure.
Chlamydio,
Chlamydios, sir.
Chlamydospores are thickened segments of hyphae. Round or thickened segments of hyphae. I'm telling about spores present within a ball-like structure. I'm telling multiple spores. Multiple spores will present in a single ball-like structure.
Sir, blastos.
Okay, I'm giving you clue. It is an aerial spore.
sir, conidiospore you are asking.
Sir, spare you something.
Ball-like structure to sir
Sporangiospore.
Sir,
sporangiospore.
In the
Sporangiospore.
sporangiospore, yeah. In the sporangiospore, you will see spores within a ball-like structure. Actually, that ball itself is called sporangium. Okay. The center ball is called sporangium. Within the sporangium, you will see the sporangiospores. Okay. Then, from the same hyphae, you will get two side branches and they will fuse. What type of, they will fuse and they will present within a sac-like structure. What type of spore is this? From a single hyphae, we will get two side branches and you will see a sac. Within this sac, you will see a spore. What type of spore is this? Or I will draw a diagram.
Ascospore.
Ascospore, correct. Very good. I will draw the diagram and you need to identify it. So what type of spore is this?
Zygospore.
Zygospore. Very good. Then, yeah, from the single hyphae, you will get a like this and you will get like this. What type of spore is this? This bottom one. From single hyphae, you will get a male and female. You will see a ball-like structure.
Sir, oospore.
Oospore. In oospore, you will see only ball, a single ball
So
like
this is
this.
Basido.
Basidospore. Very good. This is Basidospore. Okay. By the way, are these sexual spores or asexual spores?
Sexual.
Sexual.
Sexual spores, not asexual. Okay. All these are sexual spores.
Sexual.
Yeah. So very good. So I hope you know something about reproduction of fungi and spores. Okay, I'm moving forward to the next topic, students. Very, very important topic, which is laboratory diagnosis of fungi. Okay, laboratory diagnosis of fungal sample. It is not last lecture, this is today's lecture. So I'm moving forward to the lab diagnosis of fungal sample. So get ready. Shall I move forward, students? Any confusions still in the previous topic? No confusions, right?
No, sir.
Okay. So the next topic is laboratory diagnosis of fungal sample. So kindly write this side heading in the notebook. Laboratory diagnosis of fungal sample, very important question. So now, first we need to collect the samples. So usually we can collect samples from skin, from hair, and from mucous membranes. We can collect the samples. Upon collecting these samples, we need to identify the fungus. In what parameters we can identify the fungus? You just think practically, students, how you will detect fungus in the lab, how you will give a conclusion that this is this particular infection. What laboratory investigations you will do? You think generally and give me some idea, students. How will you go for the detection of fungus in the patient sample? First clue I have already given you. First you will collect the sample. Then after collecting sample, what you will do, students? Tell me.
Sir, stain the sample.
Okay, one nice answer. You can able to stain the sample, but sometimes the sample will be very low. The sample will be very less that you cannot stain it. Even after staining, you cannot visualize it. Then very good. We can do culturing also. So in the lab
The direct
diagnosis,
microscopy is also
Yes, that is also. Either we can go with direct microscopy, that means we can directly try to detect the fungus, or we can go for culturing. Then we can also go for staining the fungi. We can stain the fungus and we can detect the fungus. Okay, so these are the three techniques. So direct microscopy, staining the fungi, culturing the fungus. Okay, we have multiple methods of culturing that we will see either in the media.
Indicators also are there, sir. Some indicators for fungal infections are also there.
Yes, there are few indicators.
Sir,
Then any other
serological test.
methods? Hmm?
Serological test, sir.
Very good. Serological test. Actually, that will be the best option for us. You just take a specific antibodies against specific fungal antigen, you will get it. Very good. Serological test. We can go with serological tests. Any other lab tests for fungus? So far, you said direct observation of fungi, staining of fungi, culturing of fungi, serological test to detect the fungi. Any other tests? There are certain hypersensitivity tests also. Okay, so by introducing some antigen under the skin, if you are getting too much reaction, means that indicates previous infection. So there are some hypersensitive or allergic reaction tests also there. Okay, so let us see what way we can do the laboratory diagnosis of fungi. So we have these three types, students. We can go with direct microscopy, that means directly observing the fungus under the microscope. Then or else we can go for culturing the fungus sample. We can also go for tissue sections. Yeah, there are certain systemic fungal infections where this fungus will present within a tissue. Fungus will present within the lungs. Fungus will present within the brain. Fungus will present within the eyes. For that, we need to take a small portion of tissue. So even tissue sections can be used for detection of fungus. Okay, so first let us see the direct microscopy techniques. So in the direct microscopy, we have these four methods, students. One of the most commonly used method for observing fungus under the microscope is KOH preparation, potassium hydroxide preparation. What is the major advantage of this KOH preparation is this KOH will lyse the bacterial cell wall. Suppose when we are taking a skin sample from the patient, okay, I have taken a skin scraping and I kept on a glass slide. Now on this glass slide, I will have two types of microorganisms. I can see the patient normal bacteria in this slide, and I will also see fungus. The problem will be both fungus and bacteria will be same. Bacteria is single cell and fungus is single cell, yeast cell. You cannot differentiate an yeast cell from bacteria. Maybe we will falsely think bacteria has fungus and we will give a positive report. This is a major problem we will face. We will confuse between fungus and bacteria. That is why we always need to ensure that the sample has only fungus but not bacteria. We need to kill this bacteria in the slide. Somehow we need to remove this bacteria from the slide. Then only we can see the fungus. For that purpose, we will use this KOH. This potassium hydroxide will lyse the bacterial cell wall. It will clear the bacteria, and it will only it cannot do anything to fungus, since fungus has this chitin cell wall. So fungus can survive KOH attack. KOH will clear all bacteria from the slide. So that is why we will use this KOH. So what we will do is we will take a sample of a drop of KOH on a slide. We will take a drop of KOH on a slide. Then we will add a loop full of fungal sample to this KOH drop. We will mix it thoroughly. We will keep cover slip and we will observe under the microscope. That's it. Very simple technique. The purpose why we are using KOH is KOH will brightly visualize the fungi and it will eliminate other microbes, particularly the bacteria. Okay. Under KOH, you will find fungus like this. So this is how the fungi look like under the microscope. Here you can see some hyphal strands. You can see some yeast cells. You can also see some septate hyphae also here. So you can see septate hyphae, aseptate hyphae, and yeast cells. So this is how the fungus will appear under KOH preparation. This is how you will observe in KOH of fungal sample. Okay. Then there is a problem with KOH. The obvious problem is the transparency itself. You can see here, fungi is very transparent in KOH. Because of this transparency, sometimes we may not even detect fungi, even though there is fungus in the sample, but that fungus will be too much transparent. We may not visualize it. We may give false negative report to the patient. That might occur in KOH. That is why we have modified KOH by adding a component called chalcofluor. What does this chalcofluor do? This chalcofluor will give a color to the fungus. It will give a bright green color to the fungi. This chalcofluor has specific affinity towards the fungal cell wall, towards the chitin present in the fungal cell wall. So by using this chalcofluor KOH solution, we may not miss any fungal sample. We can able to identify all types of fungi under KOH with chalcofluor. I will show you how the chalcofluor KOH looks like. Yeah, this is how the same fungus looks under chalcofluor white. So this is a KOH with chalcofluor white. So in chalcofluor, the fungus will be very bright in nature compared to normal KOH preparation. So this is an add-on advantage of KOH with chalcofluor. Then third one is gram staining. There are few fungi that are gram positive in nature, particularly our Cryptococcus neoforms, which will cause brain infection, which is a yeast cell. That is a gram positive yeast cell. So you can able to detect this gram positive yeast cells by gram staining also. So yeah, this is a gram positive yeast cell. Okay. Then last and final is Indian ink preparation. Indian ink preparation or Indian ink stain is also called negative stain. What is this negative stain? Negative stain means these stains won't stain the cell. For example, this is a fungal cell. Rather than staining the cell, these stains will stain the background. The fungal background will be stained by these negative stains. So on a dark background, you will see a white cell. So this is how a negative stains work. And one of the best negative stain that we will use to detect fungi is Indian ink preparation or Indian ink stain. This Indian ink will stain the background rather than the cell. This Indian ink is especially useful to detect polysaccharide containing yeast cells. Polysaccharide cell membrane containing yeast cells. Mucopolysaccharide containing yeast cell. It is really challenging to stain a mucopolysaccharide cell membrane because this mucopolysaccharide will be hydrophobic in nature. That means this cell wall won't allow the dye to penetrate. The cell wall won't allow the stains to dye the cell. So we cannot visualize the cell membrane. That is why what we will do, we will stain the background. By staining background, we can able to see the transparent cells. This is Cryptococcus neoforms only again. So I will show you how Indian ink looks like. So this is how Indian ink preparation looks like. In this Indian ink, here you can see a Cryptococcus neoform yeast cell, and on the periphery of this yeast cell, you can see a bright band, a bright ring. This bright ring is actually the cell wall, the polysaccharide cell wall. This polysaccharide cell wall can be visualized under Indian ink preparation. So these are the four methods we will approach to detect the fungi under direct microscopy. First, we will go with KOH preparation. or we will modify KOH with chalcophore so that fungus will be visualized very brightly. Or we can also go with gram staining to detect gram-positive and gram-negative fungi. Or we can also go with Indian ink preparation to visualize the capsulated fungi. Capsulated fungi is our Cryptococcus neoforms, where it will have the mucopolysaccharide capsule. So these are the methods we can approach under the direct microscopy. Let us see the composition of KOH. What is this potassium hydroxide? How we can prepare this potassium hydroxide? Let us see the composition of potassium hydroxide. Potassium hydroxide. So it is one of the specimen is placed. Okay, very simple. So specimen is placed in a drop of 10% KOH. Very important. Keep in mind, students, the concentration of this KOH matters a lot. You should only use 10% KOH for the purpose of identifying fungus. If you are using greater than 10%, then that high concentration will lyse the fungal cell wall also. So we should always ensure that our percentage is not greater than 10%. So the solution should be 10% KOH solution. It is one of the important Viva question they will ask. What percent KOH you will use for detection of fungi? It is always 10% KOH. Remember, there is one exception where you should use higher KOH. That is only for one fungus that we will discuss later. But usually the normal KOH that we require for identifying fungus is 10% KOH. That is standardized formula. Okay. Now the technique is very simple. You will take a specimen, you will add a drop of KOH to it, and you will keep it on a slide. You will mix it thoroughly. You will keep a cover slip. You will heat the slide slightly, and you will observe under the microscope. Okay, so this is how you will observe by using KOH. So in the KOH, you will see three types of fungal structures. You will see spiral hyphae. You will see racket mycelium. You will see flavic chandelier mycelium. So racket mycelium is this looks like a shuttle bat. Okay, this looks like a shuttle bat. So that is why they are called racket mycelium or the racket. Okay, then flavic chandelier means they resemble like a chandelier, the one which you will hang in your homes. That is why they are called flavic chandelier mycelium. Then last one is spiral mycelium. So these are the three types of structures you will see in the KOH preparation. If possible, can you give me examples for spiral hyphae containing fungi, racket mycelium containing fungi, and flavic chandelier containing medically important fungi? If you identify examples for these mycelium, it will be even more great. So try to identify this. Okay, just Google it. All it takes is not more than 15 minutes to get the answers. Okay. Then one is KOH with chalcophore white. So by using this KOH with chalcophore white, we can able to visualize fungi as a bright green under the fluorescent microscopy. So under fluorescent microscopy, you will see a bright green fungal structures. So this is all about the KOH with chalcophore white. Then third one is gram staining. So gram staining is used for detection of Candida species. I said Cryptococcus, I'm sorry. So usually the Candida yeast cell is gram positive nature. So Candida can be detected by this either the germ tube test or by gram staining. In the gram staining, if we see positive stain means that indicates it is Candida infection. Then last one is Indian ink preparation. Indian ink preparation is especially used for detection of Cryptococcus neoforms or capsulated fungi. This capsulated fungi will be detected by using Indian ink preparation. Indian ink is also called as negative staining. Okay, this is how a patient brain looks like under Cryptococcus neoforms infection. So this particular person got a Cryptococcus infection, and you can see literally the fungus eating the brain alive. It is feeding the brain of this person. It is eating his brain. Just think about the pain and think about the condition of the patient. Patient will get epileptic seizures. patient will become mentally disoriented. His thought process will be diminished. He will go to coma, and obviously he will go to death due to brain death. So this is how deadly does the Cryptococcus neoforms is. Okay. So this Cryptococcus neoforms can be detected by Indian ink preparation. So this is enough for today, students. In tomorrow's lecture, we will go with the culturing. So we have multiple cultures like SDA culture and LPCB. This I will discuss later. I hope SDA you already discussed. We already discussed SDA in the lab. The same SDA here also. Okay. What is the full form of SDA? SDA means lab roast dextrose agar. Can anyone say the composition of SDA, students? You're already present in my lab. Can anyone say the composition of SDA or the principle of SDA? SDA contains BHI, brain heart infusion agar. It contains carbohydrate. What is the pH of SDA? What is the ideal pH of SDA?
5.6.
Very good.
5.6.
5.6. Very good. And what is the antibacterial agent we used in the SDA? Antibacterial.
Chloramphenicol.
Chloramphenicol. Very good. And what is antifungal agent we added? Antifungal in SDA. Cyclohexamide. Okay. So that we will discuss later. So a quick revision of today's lecture. So in today's lecture, we discussed about reproduction and sporulation in fungi. So coming to the reproduction, we have two types of reproduction, both sexual reproduction and asexual reproduction. Sexual reproduction happens because of meiosis by fusing of cells. There are 4 types of spores that are produced by the sexual reproduction. Those include oospores, zygospores, basilospores, and ascospores. Then we have asexual reproduction, where the asexual in the asexual reproduction, the sex happens by the same hyphae. So here we have 2 types of spores, vegetative spores and aerial spores. Vegetative spores are of 3 types, blastospores, arthrospores, and chlamydospores, whereas aerial spores are of 4 types, conidiospores, sporangiospores, microconidia, and macroconidia. Then we discussed about the lab diagnosis of fungi. In the lab diagnosis, we will go with these 3 techniques. One is direct microscopy, second one is culture, and third one is tissue cultures. Can you even tell the 4 types of direct microscopy? 4 approaches of direct microscopy. What are the 4 methods under direct microscopy?
Sir, KOH.
KOH,
Very
KOH
good.
plus corn flour.
KOH with Concophore.
Yes, sir.
Gram-
Or sir,
Gram.
Indian
Gram
ink,
staining.
gram stain.
And Indian ink preparation. Gram staining is used for detection of what type of fungi?
Albicans, Candida albicans.
Candida albicans. Is it gram positive or gram negative?
Gram negative.
Gram
Gram
Positive.
positive.
Gram positive. Don't confuse. Okay.
Okay,
Gram
sir.
positive is. Then Indian ink preparation is used for detection of what type of fungi?
Fungi
Encapsulated
present in
fungi, sir.
CSF.
Very good. Capsulated fungi.
Capsulated fungi.
Example? Capsulated fungi example. Cryptococcus neoforms. What infection caused by Cryptococcus neoforms?
Brain, sir.
Brain
Brain.
infection.
CSF.
Very good. In what type of microscopy we will see the fungal sample under fluorescein microscope? In what method we will observe fungus under fluorescein microscope?
Sir, KOH
The
corn
second one, sir.
With Colcophore. Very good.
Yes, a Colcophore.
And what is the percentage of KOH we need to use?
10%.
10%.
10%. Very good, students. Very good. Today's lecture finished. If you have any doubts, you can ask me. If not, you can leave.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, thank you, students. Thank you. I have downloaded your attendance. You can leave. Thank you very much.
Thank you.